Okay, so I don't have anything typed up for today's lesson, but there are only four little equations that I need us to solve. Okay, so today we're going to do section 7.6, and this is solving radical equations. A radical equation is just an equation that has a radical in it, or a fractional exponent, a rational exponent. Solving radical equations. So we're only going to do four right now. We're going to do a lot more in class over the next couple days. The first one that we have is the cubed root of x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay? And as we would solve a normal equation, what you want to do is you want to get the variable all by itself. And I see that right here. This is the cubed root of x. We want to get this piece right here all by itself. Okay, so right now I have a subtract 4, and we need to get it to do the opposite. We're going to add 4 to both sides. So we'll have the cubed root of x is equal to 4. What's going to happen now is we kind of need to do kind of like the opposite of taking the cubed root. And the opposite of taking the cubed root would be to cube each side. And so I'm going to rewrite this equation down here just so you can see all my steps nice and neat. But the cubed root of x equal to 4. And again, what we're doing to get rid of our cubed root, we're going to cube each side. And so basically what happens is the cubed root and the cube kind of, I don't like to use the words cancel out, but they're inverses of each other. You're going to get x equals, and then 4 raised to the third power is 64. And we're good to go there. Now if we wanted to check our solution here, okay, we're going to use our calculator. We're going to go back up, substitute our 64 in for x. So we need the cube root, which is number 4, 64. We're going to take away 4. And if our answer is right, we should end up with our 0, and we do. Okay? So if this was the 4th root right here, we would have raised each side to the 4th power. If this was the 5th root, we would raise each side to the 5th power. If this had been the square root, you would have raised each side to the 2nd power. The next one we're going to do, okay, example number 2, is a little bit different. 2 times x raised to the 3/2 power is equal to 250. Now again, you want to get the variable all by itself. And so I'm looking here, I see x raised to the 3/2 power. I don't want to worry about that 3/2 just yet. Okay, I'm worried about this 2 right here. And so in order to get the variable all by itself, we need to divide by 2 on both sides. And so when I divide by 2, we get x to the 3/2 on the left. 250 divided by 2 is 125. Okay? And again, what we did is we divided by 2 on both sides. Now, the thing is, we have raised to the 3/2 power, and that's not what we want. What we want is x to the 1st power. Every equation we've ever solved, you end up with an x raised to the 1st power. And so to get an x to the 1st power, what we're going to do is we're going to have to raise each side of the equation to the reciprocal of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite my equation down here. And then as I said, we're going to raise each side to the reciprocal of 3/2. In this case, whoops, it is 2/3. And so what happens is, remember what our rule is here, you would multiply 3/2 times 2/3. Well, the 3/2 times the 2/3, what we're going to be left with is x to the 1st power is equal to, and then 125 to the 2/3 power. Well, I know that that's 25 because the cube root of 125 is 5, raised to the 2nd power is 25. but if we go to our calculator, we can easily see that 125 caret, and then 2 divided by 3. We hit enter, and we get our 25 right there. And so x is equal to 25. Let's check our answer. Okay, let's go back to our calculator and check our answer here. Remember, it's 2 times x to the 3/2 power, so I want to substitute 25 in for my x, and I want to see, am I going to get 250? So we do 2 times, in parentheses, 25, caret, 3/2, 3 divided by 2, close parentheses, and we do get 250, so we're good to go. The third problem we're going to do, okay, is the square root of 4x minus 7 plus 2 equals 5. Now with this x is underneath this square root. Oh my goodness gracious. So what we need to do is we're going to solve for this piece first. Okay, that whole square root. So this 2 needs to come over there. And so we're going to subtract 2 from each side. Square root 4x minus 7 is equal to 3. And again, what we did was we subtracted 2 from each side. Now, remember that the square root, the opposite of the square root is squaring something. And so to get rid of this square root here, what we're going to do is we're going to square both sides. So we have the square root of 4x minus 7. That's equal to 3. And now, since it's the square root, we're going to square both sides. What happens is the square root and the square, okay, kind of cancel each other out. I really don't like that phrase, and I know I keep on using it, but they cancel. Equals 3 squared is 9. And then it's a nice linear equation that we're solving. We're going to add 7 to both sides. So the 4x then is equal to 9 plus 7 is 16. Then we're going to divide by 4 on each side, and x is equal to 4. Okay, now let's check our answer. Come back over here. We're going to be plugging 4 into x. So we have the square root of 4 times 4 minus 7. Now because that's the end of the square root, I need to close my parentheses, and then I need to add 2. And we get 5. So we're good to go. The last little bit we have to do, the last one we have to do is x minus 4. Whoops, excuse me, let me write my number up here. This is our fourth problem. I don't know if I wrote a 3 on the last one, but that's okay. X minus 4 is equal to the square root of 2x. Well, the first thing I'm noticing with this is that I have x's on both sides. One is underneath a square root, and one is not. And so what we're going to have to do here is we need to get this x out from underneath that square root first. And the way we do that is we're going to square both sides. And so what we'll get is, and I just want to write over here, this was my original problem, x minus 4 equals the square root of 2x. I didn't mean to write that right there, but that's okay. What we're going to get here is this becomes x minus 4 times x minus 4 equals, and the square root squared, those cancel out, we're just left with 2x. Now what we're going to do is we're going to expand this by foiling. So we're going to go x times x, that makes x squared, We're going to go x times negative 4 is negative 4x. We're going to go negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And finally, we're going to go negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Okay? Now let's combine our like terms. Here and here, negative 4x and negative 4x is going to make the negative 8x. Okay? Here is here. The x squared stays. And then we still have plus 16. And that's equal to 2x. Now what we need to do is we really need to bring this 2x over here. This is a quadratic equation, and we're going to try and solve this by factoring. So what I need to do is I need this side over here to equal 0. So we'll subtract 2x from both sides. We'll still have the x squared. And then negative 8x minus the 2x becomes negative 10x. And then the plus 16 equals, and then 2x minus 2x, that makes the 0. And so what we need to think of is, right here, factors of 16 that add up to negative 10. This is quadratic. It's a quadratic trinomial. And so a quadratic trinomial factors into the product of two binomials with an x, and then again, what multiplies to give me 16, but adds up to give me a negative 10. Well, negative 1 and negative 16 definitely multiply to give me 16, but they don't add up to negative 10. So now I'm going to try negative 2 and negative 8. Well, negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16, and they add up to give me negative 10. So we put that here and here. Now what we're going to do is set each piece equal to 0. So right here, x minus 2 is equal to 0. And then the x minus 8 equals 0. And so from right here, if we add 2 to both sides, x is equal to 2. From right here, if we add 8 to both sides, x is equal to 8. And now what we're going to do is we're going to check our answers. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Let's go that way. I don't know if that's going to work. Yes, good. Let me put that there, bring that over here. Okay, so our two answers was x equals 2 and x equals 8. And so when I substitute those in, we're going to substitute in 2 into our x. So we get 2 minus 4. So that's negative 2 equals, and then the square root of 2 times 2. And that equals positive 2. So notice that negative 2 does not equal positive 2. And so this is not an answer. This is what we call an extraneous solution. Now let's try 8. Plugging in 8, we're going to have 8 minus 4. Does that equal the square root of 2 times 8? Well, 8 minus 4 is 4. Does that equal the square root of 16? Well, 4 is equal to 4. That works out. So this is our only solution from here. Okay? So we're going to have more that we're going to be doing tomorrow. There are going to be some extraneous solutions, and I'll see you then.